Welcome to the What's a Verdict podcast, where we fashion ourselves cinematic judge and Jerry. My name's JJ Crowder. I'm here with my co-hosts Mattson and Alec.
Better red than dead.
And Alec Burgess.
Let's get it.
We appreciate you tuning in. Go ahead and hit that follow, subscribe, like, bell notification buttons. Help us keep the podcast rolling. Tell a friend about us. Tell a family member about us.
Hello, Wookiee about us, Jay. Come on.
I was about to say, you can tell a Wookiee about us. It feels like it's very...
That was your Wookiee?
That was my...
Oh, you didn't know that was his Wookiee?
I thought he was doing some new wave slang, like this skibbity riz Ohio stuff.
I haven't practiced my Wookiee, so that's all I got.
Yeah, it was a Wookiee. But yeah, tell a Wookiee about us, but also tell, like, and maybe in this case, a method actor about us. That would work too. So yeah, it's a week 2 of our... What was it again? Like, I always forget. Like, I don't know why I'm having such a hard time remembering the theme. Like, I know it's comedies, but it was
all-time favorite.
All-time favorite comedies. Yeah, I think that's what it actually was. So, all-time favorite comedies. Round 2, we're here talking about Tropic Thunder. It was released August 13th, 2008. It was written by Justin Theroux, Ben Stiller, and Ethan Cohen. It was directed by Ben Stiller. Stars Ben Stiller, Jack Black, Robert Downey Jr., Jeff Kahn, Anthony Ruvivar, Jay Baruchel, Brandon T. Jackson, Steve Coogan, and Nick Nolte, with some other people in there that we'll talk about, I'm sure. It's about, through a series of freak occurrences, a group of actors shooting a big budget war movie are forced to become the soldiers they are portraying. I think that's slightly misleading, but that's okay. I have some strong opinions about this movie, but this is a Mattson movie. Mattson, tell us why you picked this movie, my friend.
Look, this movie, I don't know when I came across this movie. It's probably around the time it came out, probably maybe a year or two after. Maybe I don't know. Like, I think it's one of those movies I first came across on TV and was just like, what am I watching right now? This weird movie. Robert Downey Jr.'s character decided to die himself. Like, what? Like, and then there's so many famous people in this movie, like good actors, and but what stood out the most is Tom Cruise's character. Just rewatching this last night. I mean, dude just gets me. I love his character so much. I'm like, he just makes me laugh, from the prosthetics to his super hairiness to his, like, what seemed like larger than life forearms and hands. and then just the way he just harasses people on the phone. That scene with the terrorist when he was like giving his demands and threats. And then why am I forgetting what's his actual name in the movie? It's the producer. What's his name? Gosh dang it, Tom Cruise's character's name.
I don't even know, because it's not even in the credits, so I can't remember. Les Weissman. Les, something like that.
He just the guy's face after he hears what he says, like, I just love it. Like, talk about well-placed cuss words, man. Perfect. And then outside of that, the movie within the movie, the trailers for the movies where these stars came from. I just love that part. It's still, all of those make me giggle because they're all over the top, and I like movies that make fun of themselves. And to me, this movie does a great job at certain parts throughout of it. Am I here to say, again, is this another like foolproof plot, great movie? No, it's not that, but man, this movie does make me chuckle. And even watching it later on, like, I still look forward to any scene Tom Cruise is in, especially. It just gets me jazzed.
Fair enough. Alec, what about you? What did you think of Tropic Thunder?
So I'm not a big Ben Stiller fan, and I had a moral dilemma with this movie that I never thought I would ever experience with any movie ever. So Oshi's been playing this ghost game, like video game, Phasmophobia.
Okay, I know the game.
You're like a fucking ghost hunter.
Yeah.
I was upset because I've had having to play it with her. Yeah. I was upset that I had to stop being a ghost hunter to go watch Tropic Thunder.
Had you seen this movie before?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I've seen it before. Okay. But I was just like, I gotta go watch Tropic Thunder means I can't hunt ghosts anymore. Like that was where my mind went, and that did. I caught myself afterwards going, "What the fuck?"
I'd rather hunt ghosts. I was going to say because phasmophobia can get your ass if you're not careful.
Oh no, it's gotten my ass. But I was like, I'd rather, and I had to sit there and like really rethink my life choices after that because I was like, no, Tropic Thunder is not that bad. Like, it's not so bad. I should be upset having to stop ghost hunting to go find.
Are you saying we need to put in a scary movie, like a real?
No,
one?
I'm not saying that. I was just saying
that's kind of what I'm hearing.
This was a moral dilemma of my soul that I was not expecting to have.
We can fix this where we can help you remember that there are scary movies out there.
I see your point though, Alec. You choosing a scary something over anything else feels weird.
I was shocked at myself because I was like, no. This is not what I really want to be doing. What I want to be doing is watching the comedy film.
Oh shit, that's funny.
But yeah, so Ben Stiller's a weird one for me, and it's like he's hit or miss, and it is. Usually when it hits, it feels like it's other people in the movie that make it hit.
Mm-hmm. Is it because he went full retard?
Yeah, 100%. That's the entire reason. But I mean, even like, Night at Museum, right? Where really he's the only person in the movie, and a lot of times the show still gets stolen by a giant stone head.
And Robin Williams.
And so it's tricky because I'm like, he's the one who's directing it. He's the main actor, the headliner, puts himself in it. And I'm like, I would rather just watch Robert Downey Jr. and Danny McBride go on a buddy cop movie in Vietnam. Yeah. Like that shit would be fun.
I feel like this is a movie though where he made fun of himself a lot, and I never felt like, I know he was technically the main character and he directed it, but I think this movie celebrated the comedy of what other people brought to the table, and he was just a part of the ride. I'd never looked at him as like the central focus of the movie, but maybe I have a different viewpoint.
This movie's like it's a conundrum for me because there's so many people and things about this movie that I love, but I hate Ben Stiller. I'm going to take it a step further. I don't even have an issue or struggle with. I cannot stand Ben Stiller. Like there is very little, if anything, that he's done that I'm like, oh, that's funny. Like I don't find him funny at all. I find him stupid. Like he actually annoys me, and so it makes things hard to watch when he's in them for me. The problem is there's some genius performances in this. And I know it's like, and you hear about it because of the nature of what Downey's character has done. Like that's like, but he really kills it in this movie across the board. The Jack Black is the hilarious comedy, is wild because he's the comic relief inside of a comedy because he's just running around like a wild man with his addiction. And I love parody.
No, JJ. Jelly beans.
Yes, jelly beans. I love parody. Like I think anything that's I'm with you on that, Matt. Anything that makes fun of itself and like this is like this satire on Hollywood and the problems that you've seen in Hollywood throughout all time, right? Like how do you win an Oscar? What are the odds that you're going to win? What are the chances? You got to do this, you got to do that. And then these people that make all the big millions of dollars but will never win an Oscar because of the types of movies that they're in, and then the drug addiction, and then like the people trying to look up and become actors, like, and then like the goofy guys that have melted ears and lost a finger. Like it's just like I love the satire and the parody of it all, but Ben Stiller ruins it for me because I just can't stand him. And then there are parts where I'm like, and this is, I think, my problem with Ben Stiller. There's not a Ben Stiller comedy. Okay. I won't say movie because That's hard for me to say too. There's very few, if any, that I can think of. None that I can think of off the top of my head. Ben Stiller movies where it doesn't go too far, and I don't mean like offensive too far, because I'm with Alec. Like if you can offend me, Jesus Christ, you went off a cliff, climbed back up, and went off a cliff further down the road.
You earned it.
Yeah, like it's almost impossible to truly offend me. But going too far with like for example, when they come and rescue him and he's got this like he's gone full method, right? And he's got the little kid and he's like refusing to go with them and like all of these different things. Like I'm like, what is happening right now? Because this isn't funny for me. Like it took what they were trying to do, even the satire, too far. And I think that's always been my problem with Ben Stiller. If he's acting in it, if he's directing it, if he's part of a movie, he takes it one step at least, sometimes many more steps, farther than it needed to go, because the comedy was landing until you went there. And now I'm just annoyed. And there's a few places where that is. Like, for example, early on when the director gets blown up, laughed my ass off at the fact that he gets blown up and then everybody's like freaking out except for Ben Stiller. And he like, it's not real. And everybody else is puking and losing their shit. And he picks up the head. And I even laugh when he puts the head on the end of the gun. Because it's, again, there's images of things like that. So I was like, that's funny. It's good satire. But then like the whole like tasting the blood, then he's like shaking it out. He just took it one step too far, because then it loses me. And I go, okay, let's move on to the next piece. This is an hour and 40-minute movie. It should have been an hour and 20, because there's pieces that they hit the comedy. I laugh my ass off. I go, that's really funny. Then they go 3 more steps into the same joke. And I'm like, nope, cut that shit out. And you made the perfect movie. I will say that the one place that they did perfect and that they should have done more of is Tom Cruise. Because the Les Grossman character, I want a movie just of Les Grossman.
I'd watch it.
Fucking hilarious. Hilarious.
Is this Cameron? Who's the what was like? Who's the, I don't know, that person, the guy that holds the microphone was like, yeah. I want you to go over there and punch him in the fucking face.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I love it. Lex he's the best part of this movie by far. And I remember sitting in the theaters. Yeah, I remember sitting in the theater like, is that Tom Cruise?
Yeah, because that's when at first I was like, is this Tom Cruise? Because at that point, you got to think back to when this is made.
Yep.
I know he's been in some stuff, but like this, I was like, I can't think of anything I've ever seen like good boy Tom Cruise play someone like this. It just made me laugh.
Well, and fun fact, like he was in a not great place at this time. Like he kind of fallen off. This was shortly after the Oprah jumping on the couch.
Oh yeah.
Like the whole like the Scientology was under a lot of scrutiny at the time. The fact that he's pretty much the face of Scientology from a Hollywood perspective. The whole Katie Holmes issues, like they were in the midst of divorce, and like the whole problem about how he was like, I don't know anything that was going on, but like there's a whole lot of rumors and a whole lot of weird shit, and him jumping up and down on the couch and just being a all around weird son of a bitch. So like people were kind of afraid to touch him. And he's a great actor. We've talked about him a million times, but like if you do some weird shit, which they make fun of on this movie, like it'll ruin you. And so this was like one of those things where they're like, well, let's put Tom Cruise on it. And it kind of, if you look back at the time frame of this 2008, and then you watch like the movies he made between like 2002 and 2008, there were some misses there. And so there was some fall off, and then there was some gap. And then after 2008, he started doing well again. And so this kind of bounced him back, but he wasn't in a great place. But to your point, like, you're like, I literally was sitting in the theater going, is that Tom Cruise? Holy fucking shit, that's Tom Cruise. And then it just became even funnier because he's balding. He's got the giant ass hands, and he's just weird, ugly, goofy looking dude.
So big.
and then like and then you're like, this is cool that Tom Cruise can be weird. So I think the one thing, if I had to compliment this movie about one thing, and again, this is a Ben Stiller kind of thing, right? With him directing it and being very involved, I will give him credit that he did a great job of putting people in places to be funny and to be shocking and to really make fun of Hollywood, the institution, the problems, the great parts, like all of that shit. It does a great job doing what it meant to do. I just think he gets heavy-handed, which is a Ben Stiller thing. And so it pulls me out of the movie, and it really kind of makes me frustrated when I get to those points, because I'm like, God damn it, you fucked it up again. Because I just want to keep laughing. And if you just move on to the next set of jokes, I could. But instead, you're trying to milk it for more than it's worth. So I think that's my biggest frustration with the movie. But
they need to come to Tom Cruise and make, look, let's just make a movie with this character. Oh my gosh, I'd freaking love that.
Oh, it'd be hilarious.
So funny. And they need to have all the prosthetics back, because every time I see him, that's one of the funniest things still. The rewatch me, I'm just like, that's Tom Cruise. Like, it's like one of the prettiest boys in Hollywood. He just looks horrible. And then the fact that they got him at the end to do the dancing to Ludacris's song.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure, I don't know if that was ad-libbed and he just kind of did what he did, but like, for how famous he was to get him to do something, it's just like, how did they get him to do that? And he did it.
Yeah. And I will say, to Ben Stiller's credit too, like, he pulled a lot of people in this movie that were having some struggles at the time, because like Downey had just finished Iron Man, the first one, and so and then immediately this was the follow-up for Downey, and he had I think he signed on to this one before he signed on to Iron Man. So he hadn't come back yet fully. So he got him. Jack Black was kind of in this weird ass place. Jack Black's always been Jack Black, but he always usually played a side character to a degree. Then after this, he starts to get into some of the more major stuff. Like, he'd had a couple, like School of Rock, I think, was prior to this, but like there wasn't anything that was like, oh, Jack Black's a mega star. But this put him back off. And then we talked about Tom Cruise, and then it's just like, and McConaughey at the time, it was not far off of his bongo weed fucking session around this time too, I think. So like, to his
we
credit,
didn't even talk about McConaughey, and it's just so funny to hear the TiVo reference. Like, you get your TiVo.
He uses the TiVo to save the day. It's fucking terrible. The best part of that whole thing is when he runs away. Like, they leave his ass there in the chopper. He turns around and just back into the fucking woods or the jungle. Like,
yeah, but I liked all that, because, like you said,
Sure.
though, it's so it's so Hollywood, all that. And even it was funny because they had the movie version of it in the award ceremony. Like, making what was the phrase? Making a true movie that was fake, that was true, or something like. It's like, all that was just too perfect, because that's all the, like, when they in the movie they were making, when Ben Stiller's character dies, like the arms up, being shot, but then in the real one he still kind of does, like, because he doesn't know how to not act, even though it's actually happening.
Yep. No, I love the satire of it all, and I love the moment when Downey Jr.'s pulling off the wig and the costume, and he's having this like crisis of conscience that was caused by Stiller's character, because he always gets so deep into his characters, and because you always hear about the method actors, the ones that take it too far, like the Jared Leto's and
like Heath Ledger, who died for it.
Yeah, like you hear about these guys that like get into character and never come out of it for months at a time, and send people fucking animal heads or whatever to their trailer because they're playing the Joker, and they gotta, you know what I mean? So it's just like, how far is too far to be a great actor? So I love that they ask these questions, and I love that it was a popular movie in that it turned kind of the face of acting and some of the problems that acting has. and Hollywood in general back on itself. Because I also laugh at the fact that the whole conversation of like Ben Stiller's character dying, like, and he's like, I'll get you a G5 and a lot of money. Like, and they have this like dance party like then in order to like celebrate the fact that they'll be able to utilize him as a tax credit and, you know, all the different things that they'll do, like some charity shit. Like, it was just like, holy shit, this is fucked up. But you have to go somewhere. There's probably a conversation like that going on. I mean, if they got the island, God knows there's people that wouldn't be sad if something happened to an actor that they can then utilize it. Right. So it's like, oofty, what a dirty business to be in. And so I love that aspect of it. I love it. I think it's the best part of the movie. So
my favorite part of the movie is Water Buffalo.
Oh, fuck. Yeah. With the bull ring that somebody would have had to have put there. This is supposed to be a wild water buffalo, but there's a fucking nose ring in it.
Every time.
Yeah. I love I just love Jack Black like running around like the farther into the detox he gets, like the fucking crazy, like the whole being tied to the tree piece. Like, if you come over here right now, I will suck your dick. Yeah. Like that whole thing. And then like he get like the mountain, like the plateau of heroin that he just like runs over to, and then he uses it to get out. It's fun. The fistfuls of heroin. Like that's not even how you use heroin, but sure, whatever. Like,
what's the guy that, not Nick Nolte, but the explosion guy that I know you don't like very much, JJ? That character, that actor's name, I can't remember. He's the dude that was over the explosions.
Alex said it earlier. What?
Danny McBride.
Danny McBride.
I and that's one of the reasons I Pineapple Express. I like scenes that he's in. He makes me laugh at him and Nick Nolte. I like their yin and yang. I thought they actually worked quite well together in this one, because there can be too much Danny McBride, and I can understand that he can wear in people, but I thought there was like the perfect amount, and especially once he found out Nick Nolte his character wasn't actually a war vet, and how offended he was. I love that.
No, I love Danny McBride in the right dose. Like, I think he's a genius when you get them. Again, he's one that can go too, like, you take it too far, and there's a little too much, like you said. But no, he's great. Nick Nolte's funny as fuck. And we've talked about Nick Nolte in the past on the podcast. I love Nick Nolte. I think he's so underrated because he got himself into some trouble and then didn't have a lot to go back on. So it's interesting. And I don't know that I ever really thought about it until I was prepping for the podcast and thinking about it as I was watching it, going, there's a lot of like Hollywood outcasts in this movie, especially at the time. So it fits the narrative that they're trying to say, that Hollywood is nasty and it can turn on you in a heartbeat. Yeah. And, you know, here's a bunch of people that have in real time have had that happen to them, with the exception. I don't know that Ben Stiller ever went through something like that, but he's also like, his dad's been in the business for ages. Now his dad's funny as fuck. His dad's one of the funniest people ever. And I just wish Stiller was the same way. I cannot. Ugh.
One of my favorite parts of this movie is with Danny McBride and Nick Nolte, though, and he's like, what kind of gun you got there? He's like, I don't know. I just know the sound it makes him kills a man. It's like, whoa, I wasn't expecting you to go there. Like,
yeah, the Nick Nolte character, like the whole like put him in the jungle and like send him in, and then to come to find out that he's
nothing, he
complete and utter fraud. And then like you have like one of the scenes with Stiller that does make me laugh is when he's using the amputee claws, the prosthetic claws, like, and he's got like the wonton or whatever the hell he's holding on to, and they're doing the article about it, like the news about him on whatever.
Oh yeah,
Christina Menounos or whatever the shit her name was, and he like breaks it with the thing. I'm like, okay, that's funny because he's like leaning in to try. Well, I'll do some method acting and try to get into character. And I'm just like, oh, it's so ridiculous. That part made me laugh. I do love Al Pacino too.
I forgot why am I forgetting the Al Pacino? What part is he in?
Well, he's the other African American dude.
Oh yeah.
Al Pacino. And he's got the weird fucking
Forgot
butt
about
sweat
that.
soda and what was the chocolate bar? I can't
Oh,
remember.
booty sweat and a bust a nut.
Yeah. Because that's the first commercial I think you see in the movie.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
the commercial for bust a nut and booty sweat. It's so gross.
Oh, those the trailer parts, dude. Those are forever be funny to me because that's like really making fun of Hollywood. Especially the Simple Jack one is so cringy to me when I said like, oh, that's painful, but it was designed to be that way. I'm like, man, they hit that right because
Yeah,
hurts every time I see it.
I mean, it's not far off too because I think The Ringer had come out right around that time. That whole movie, if you've ever seen it, is extremely offensive. Like, and I love watching what's his name trying to keep a straight face when there's a part in that movie that made me laugh my ass off, The Ringer, because what was the dude? Johnny Knoxville plays the main in that, and there's a moment when the asshole is like, yeah, we took him to get some ice cream, and one of the kids was like, when we get fucking ice cream, and you see Johnny Knoxville just like lose his shit and have to look away, and they kept it in the movie because it was completely off the cuff. This kid was like, that was completely ad-libbed from this kid in the movie. He's like, I took him to get some ice cream. Where the fuck did we get ice cream? So, but yeah, like that, yeah, that part in the movie, you're just like, oh God. But it's also a thing where Hollywood makes weird mistakes, makes movies about shit they shouldn't make movies about. That's for damn sure. But yeah.
To me, this movie is just they put too much in this movie and it gets a little chaotic and hard to know like the direction. But when you do it on like a per character basis, and I get what you're saying about Ben Stiller. I like him in some things, obviously. I like Dodgeball. I like, what else do I like? I love Heavyweights. I think when he plays something over the top that I know it and like that line has been created from the beginning, I could be okay with it. There's some other movies that he's in that get progressively a little bit more outlandish that I have a harder time when his Ben Stillerisms kind of take over and, like JJ says, does one too many things. But this movie, there's just so many different funny parts from so many funny people. But I don't think it's like the best written movie, and I think that's what you could say about most comedies. But Tom Cruise, man, like this, for that alone, like this movie I will always turn to for, just because when he comes on, especially the first, it just makes me, he tells that guy to punch the director. It just makes me laugh.
Yeah.
Because it's so unexpected. It's Tom Cruise, because the Tom Cruise I think of right now, pretty boy, smooth assassin, and he's just this old ugly dude. And then there's just these weird, like Robert Downey Jr.'s character. Just even when he wasn't a method actor, they still made him Australian. They didn't make him this dude from America. I was like, he's still like technically method acting for me because he's not Australian. So
with the weirdest fucking eyes, like,
oh, his eyes, dude. I'm like, how do they do that? Like his eyes are crazy.
Just contacts, man.
I know, but wow.
Alec, you've been stunningly quiet during this review, buddy.
Tropic Thunder. I don't know, man. It's hard for me to say I don't like it, but I don't like it. It's hard for me to say I like it, but I like it. It's right in the middle, hot and cold, all over the place, because there are so many funny parts where I've never laughed harder.
Yeah.
And then there are so many parts where I'm like, I'm gonna turn it off right now. To see anymore. This is stupid. And so it's those big shifts from one to the next, and this frequently happens in the same scene where you go from almost dying of laughter to whoa, or vice versa, right? And you're like, oh, but then funny. And it's hard for me to get a reading on it because I go back and forth all the time. So this is a movie that I don't watch a lot. Just because it's something that, you know, it's almost more work than it's worth to have to actually sit down and watch it.
What's funny is when you like the movies that you guys like the most, whether it's comedy, like anything, How many times do you think you've seen the movies that you like the most?
Oh, a lot. I rewatch movies a lot.
Like, what's a lot? Are you talking like 20, 30?
No, so I've probably seen Casablanca, which is one of my favorite movies of all time, 200, 300 times.
Are you serious?
And that's probably a low ball.
That's JJ. What about you for like the movies you read? Like, what is that for you?
Yeah, it's tricky for me because to be honest, and I know everybody makes fun of me. We've been making fun of me on this podcast for almost 5 years about this, but I don't rewatch a lot of movies. But when I do rewatch them, I rewatch them a lot. Like the Star Wars films, and I won't even go there because Casablanca couldn't even touch what I've watched the Star Wars films.
Are you still rewatching them?
Absolutely, dude. At least once a year, I watch the Star Wars trilogy, the original trilogy. Minimum once a year.
How many? If you're watching Casablanca that many times, how many times a year are you watching it?
Oh, a lot. I'll watch it probably 3 times a month.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I could watch Star Wars Gladiator. I could watch Gladiator.
Oh, I love Gladiator.
Anytime.
It's funny you say
Gun, the original Top Gun.
I know you guys know this about me. Like, I have movies I really like. Any movie that, like, you guys know I love Braveheart. I love. JJ just said one of the movies, like Gladiator, for instance, movie like whatever, and there's other movies out there. I've probably seen all of those, all of my most favorite movies, less than 100 times. It may be less than 60. It probably is less than 60 times. It's probably closer to like 40, if that. Like the more that I say it, I'm trying to think of the movie I've watched the most.
See, that's funny to me.
It could be Revenge of the Sith. I've seen that, like, and that might be like 7 times, 8 times, maybe.
See, that's funny
numbers.
I don't like Braveheart very much. I've seen it 40 times.
Well, that's what's funny. But the people that are like, I'm like, damn, like I don't know how. Now, the thing that I find myself like a TV show, for instance, like Seinfeld, is probably the thing but there's so many different episodes that's where I have spent most of my rewatchability is Seinfeld, but it's different shows. But like a movie, I just don't do that. And I like watching those movies. I just don't for whatever reason. I think I rewatch all the movies I like, but I rewatch all, and it takes me forever to get like through it where like, I can't even imagine watching the same movie 3 times in the same month. That's crazy town for me.
Oh, that's like regular.
That's nuts.
Yeah, see, my problem is I'll get on to like look for something and I'm like, there's nothing on. Or back in the day, and I grew up in a non-streaming world, right? So like you watched what you had or what was available to rent or what was available at the movie theater. Like, and it wasn't always the case, like especially when I was younger, where I could just be like, I'm just gonna go over to fucking Blockbuster. And we certainly didn't have Netflix when I was a kid. And we didn't even have.
Neither did I, JJ.
I know, but like, what I did, if I was not playing sports, I was watching movies because that's what I did back then. And I mean, still to a degree, like, there's rarely a day in the week that goes by that I'm not watching something. Like, and if it's not necessarily, rarely is it rewatching. Like Casey and I get on and we watch some terrible shit because that's what's out there right now. But I don't. Again, like we're always just putting on a movie. Like, let's watch a movie or let's watch a TV show.
I can't. Tay likes to rewatch a lot of, especially TV shows, but she'll do some movies. But I don't know. It's the same thing I like to do with food. Like I have my go-tos, but I'm that type of person. I like finding new things to eat. And in like that movie that I just watched the other day, it's What's Inside on Netflix. I'm glad I watched it. I liked it. It was interesting. And I try to do that more than not, but man, like to your point, JJ, it does get. It's funny you mentioned streaming now. I feel like it's exacerbated the problem of just watching what you want, but because we're so inundated with so many new things you could watch. But you also know, I mean, we do this and we've been doing this for like 4 or 5 years. There's so much crap out there. So it's so easy to be like, let me just pick from the 30 things that I remember. And then you always have that thought, I haven't seen that in a while. And then you just end up watching that thing that you haven't seen in a while, but you have seen it.
I rewatch now more than I ever have. There was a time when I would never rewatch because it was like I'd go to Blockbuster and come home with 5 or 6 movies that I'd never seen before, and I hadn't had a chance to go to the theater to see them, so I wanted to watch them, right? And there used to be a gap, fuckers, like little kids listening, watching. There used to be time between movie theater and when it came out on video. And when I say time, I didn't mean a month or 2. I meant sometimes a year before I could watch it in my house. Okay, so I would pick stuff up and watch and whatnot. Now, like, there's no gap. Like, if I don't go see fucking, well, what was the one that, so, like Deadpool and Wolverine, it was not that long ago that fucking movie came out in theaters. It's already streaming. And it's already getting ready to be on Disney Plus for free if you have the subscription. So it's like, there is no gap. And to your point, Mattson, most of the shit that comes out that's new, that's straight to streaming, it sucks balls. So a lot of what'll happen is we'll go, okay, let's watch a movie. I'm 10 minutes into the movie going, this movie sucks. Let's turn it off and watch something and I have to so I rewatch now more than I ever used to because I go back and go, I can't watch this garbage. And now I'm pissed because it's garbage.
How often do you go to movie theaters now, Jay? Because I used to go a lot. Like I had the AMC, and then now I got rid of it because it was a little further away. But then a lot of it was just because I was like, there's nothing I really want nowadays. Like besides Doom 2 earlier this year, there has been nothing that I've been like, I have to be in theaters for that. And I feel like that happens all the time now. Like, and I know you love to go to the movie theater, and Alec probably too, way more than I loved going to movies growing up. But now, like, there's not a reason to go. There's nothing that I want to go see. It's like few and far between.
Yeah, I went and saw Deadpool and Wolverine. I think before that I saw Dune 2. But
I saw Deadpool in theaters. I forgot. Yeah. That's the last thing I saw.
That's the last thing I saw. I haven't been to the theater to see anything other than Deadpool and Wolverine because it's just like, and it's sad because I love the theater. But, and I mean, I saw Tropic Thunder in the theater when it came out. And then this was the first time I'd watched it since then.
But you say a good point because a lot of these like so-so movies will just come out and streaming like 2 months after they premiere. And I'm like, well, what's the point of me going to the theater then? Because unless you have that membership, it's buku expensive to go just watch a movie. Like for me and Tay, like it's stupidly expensive unless you have that membership. But you can't justify a membership if there's no good movies to go see either.
Well, I don't even have mine anymore either. Like I was going to see, there was a time when I had it and I would go see a movie like a couple
I did too.
Week, you know what I mean? At least 2 or 3 movies a week. I don't even, like I said, it's been months since I've been to the movie theater. Why? And to your point, like not even the great movies come out in streaming soon after they're in the theater. So it's not like I have to go, oh, I got to go see that in the theater. That was the other thing. Like if I wanted to see a movie when I was a kid, you either saw it in the theater or it was a while. Like it was at least 6-7 months before you might get it on HBO. Like you didn't have stream. Like you couldn't just pay for it digitally and watch it. You had to wait for it to come out on HBO or Cinemax or Stars or whatever the hell it was coming out on. Then you could go rent it somewhere if you didn't have the premium channel subscriptions or pay for that through your cable. So now to your point, we're so spoiled with content that the content's crap because they're just like, we know it doesn't matter if it sucks or not. We have to release content to keep people paying for our subscription. And that
I just even like my in-laws love like the Hallmark movie channel, for instance. And it just makes me laugh because there's people that like them and watch them. And I'm like, they're just one of many studios that are just cranking out stuff to make content. And I know a lot of these streaming services are losing money and they're trying to tighten their budgets. And I think that's a great thing because we have too much content delusion is what I come down to. Like just because you can make it doesn't mean you should make it. And that goes for anything. You mean from Star Wars to Marvel, like you look at any of the biggest things to the smallest things, like especially Star Wars and Marvel, for instance. And Marvel's a great example of it. They found the secret sauce, and then they went too far and they diluted their product. And now, like, it's so funny. What are we, 4 or 5? How many years away are we from Endgame? It's been like 5-6 years. Yeah. What is Marvel now? Marvel it's nothing. Yeah. And like Star Wars, Jay would say the same thing. Like, and we've talked about that on this podcast. Don't get me, and you literally said this, like, don't get me wrong. I love that we're making new Star Wars content, but I think when we were in the throes of the last few years, they were making so much stuff. It was just too much, and it wasn't. At least for me, it didn't feel like the vibes of what we wanted, and they were making just because they could. And now they're kind of pulling back, and I think they're being a lot more intentional again. But that's a lot of what's happening these days.
Yeah. Agreed. And it fits within the diatribe of this movie, right? Like, Hollywood sucks. They have some really shitty practices, and it's all about money.
It's all about the money. Think about all the sequels, remakes, reboots. How much original content are we really getting that actually is worth watching? I can't think. There's not much out there.
There's no original content.
Yeah, you've seen it already.
Like, and when I think it's funny now that we're talking about this, when I think about like the 90s or the 2000s, like how did they make so many the same type of movies and all those things? And like, I mean, we're looking at a period of cinema like this isn't a golden age of cinema. We're far from it. Horrible CGI, just fast track plots, remakes, all like I feel like we'll look back in 20 or 30 years and this will just be a dead period where it's like, oh, that was a movie during that period. Like, yeah, we'll pass on that. It feels like we're in that right now.
It'll be the 50s.
Could seriously though,
where you have a half dozen movies that were good and people remember.
Here's the crazy part, and then we can rate this movie because we've gone a little off track. Even though it's exactly on track, it just feels off track. What I would like to see, and this is hard for me to say because we know how much I love movies and when we do this podcast, but like, I think we need to go back to the days where content was more difficult to see and you had to wait, because I appreciated stuff, even if it wasn't great. Because I'm not going to sit and say that every movie that I ever watched back in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, before streaming was a thing, was great. There was a lot of shit content that was there. But I took it with a grain of salt because I understood I may not see another movie in my house for 6 months, right? Like, or I'm going to have to watch the same things that I've seen before because there's not new things. What I don't want to go away is like the television shows, the access to content like TV stuff or like the episodic stuff, I think is great to have in the streaming zone. That's good because it's easier to digest. You can take longer to make it. And there's more ability to do that. Movies to me should be special. Like, that's why I've always had a hard time with movies that are based off of TV shows that were successful. Like, I can't think of one off the top of my head where it's like, here's this awesome TV show that ran for 4 or 5 years. But then the ratings fell off and they canceled it before they were done. So they made a movie to finish it. I cannot think of one that was great. What I can think of is great television, and I can think of great movies, but there was a reason that they're great. And so I like streaming content for TV. I really like it for like real content, like documentaries and things. Like, I think that's great. The streaming space is wonderful. I think it kills the movie industry because, again, they're making too much. And they weren't original to begin with. Let's be honest. Not in decades has there been actual original content, because they just take the same shit and they regurgitate it and they make some updates to what the content might actually be. But it's the same story. It's always been the same stories. It'll always be the same stories. It's just how unique can you tell that story. But because we're getting the same stories every fucking day, once a week, 6 times you know what I mean? Like, it's constant, a barrage of the same shit. You get numb to it. So I would love for them to pull new movies out of the streaming piece. Fine. All the old movies that we could rent at the theater, like, there's no such thing as renting movies anymore through like physical shit. Put all the stuff that's come out, but there needs to be a gap. Deadpool Wolverine comes out, needs to be a minimum 6 months before you can actually grab it. Well, in my opinion.
That's why movies are also getting hurt. Because you're right, Jake, because people now know, like, shoot, I'll just wait 2 months and I'm already paying for the streaming service instead of having to pay $60 for 2 movie tickets and like popcorn, all that crap. Like, I get why people are waiting, because you're giving them no reason to. What's the incentive?
Yeah.
Wait.
Great example. Episode 1. I fucking camped out for 3 days to get tickets to go see it in the movie theater because I knew, and I watched it 6 times in the first week in the movie theater. And I won't even say the number. I watched it while it was still in theaters. Like, we hunted down dollar theaters across the state to go find it so that we could keep watching it, because we knew once it was out of theaters, we were a minimum of a year before I could get it in my house. So it made going to the movie special, even if the movie wasn't great or wasn't the best thing I've ever seen. Now going to the movies isn't special. It just isn't. And and that's unfortunate, but it's because, to your point, why? I just got to be patient and wait a few months at most before I can watch it. If it's an absolute dud in the theater, it'll be in the fucking streaming in 6 weeks. Sometimes less.
What are your thoughts, Alec, before we rate this thing?
Yeah, I mean, I am a big fan of not having streaming at all. And I hate the way that it's kind of gone, because the idea of streaming was the ease of access, you watch it on your time. You don't have to deal with commercials or breaks or anything like that. But now every single streaming service has ads broken in there. So it took all it's a huge bait and switch. Because it was, there used to be good content. Now you're looking for stuff like, we tried to get Young Frankenstein, fucking nowhere, anywhere. But we have 47 movies that were made this last month that are all dog shit. So it took kind of the whole reason that I think it was originally brought about was the ease of access. Go find stuff that you can't find anymore, right? Hey, we uploaded a copy of this movie from 1963 that nobody's ever seen before because we found it, and it's like, let's digitize it, throw it up there. And it's you don't have to worry about commercials or anything like that. And then now it's ads and commercials just all thrown in there. So I think it's the biggest bait and switch that we've ever seen. And I don't even remember what the last movie was I went to go see in theaters.
Yeah.
But
probably something for the podcast.
Yeah, it might have been. But it's just one of those things where it's like, it was such a great concept that's turned into the biggest money grab ever.
Yeah, I remember when Hulu was pure.
Yeah.
And Hulu, before it was owned by a corporation, they put old TV show episodes up there that you could go watch that you couldn't find anywhere else because reruns, right?
Yeah. And then like all the perks of having streaming just got kind of pulled out.
Yeah, it's just the new version of cable.
It's now the new version of cable, except it's twice as expensive as cable was.
Yeah. I don't know. Cable was really expensive.
I mean, we're getting to a point with all the...
But it's getting close.
Streaming services now where, you kind of have to, at some point, unless you're JJ, got to maybe pick like your top 3.
Well, and that's, when I go back and look at what I pay for streaming to have it all, it's less than I was paying for full cable, but it's not far off. And the sad part is, like, I don't even get unless I pay extra, I don't even get like the sports and shit that I used to get with real cable. So it's a tough, it won't be long before something's going to have to give, because you can't have both sides be shit.
The thing that got me a little while ago was I was on Amazon Prime, right? I think I was looking for Django. And you can watch Django on Amazon Prime if you use Amazon Prime to get a Star subscription.
Yep.
Or something stupid like that. So now Amazon Prime is like the middleman for other streaming subscriptions.
No, the worst part? It's even worse, Alec. Amazon Prime, I pay for Amazon Prime, right? Which used to come with Prime Video, which means I can either get some videos for free because they're part of the Prime subscription, or you have access to rent things through Prime, whatever it is, the newer stuff. Now, Amazon Prime has a freaking premium subscription, so you don't have ads. So I got to pay an extra $5 a month on top of my $100 and some odd for my Amazon Prime a year in order to be able to watch without commercials.
Well, they're all doing that now, man.
I know. But it pisses me off. I pay for a membership just to have to pay extra. I get like having an ad-free version. Like I get with the concept, right? What I don't hate, the worst part for me was Amazon, because I'm already paying for your subscription, dickhole. You can't make me pay on top of this subscription so I don't have ads on shit that I'm already paying for. Horseshit. Anyway, there's my soapbox. Let's rate this movie. Mattson, this was yours. You start us off, buddy.
Yeah, I'll give it a 3.5. It's like not a great movie, but there's a collection of great actors. It's funny. There's some really funny scenes, some quotes that I really enjoy, but Tom Cruise's character just takes it for me, will always make it funny because of that. And I love how this movie starts with the different trailers of the characters that are in this movie. It makes me chuckle. Ben Stiller's a little over the top at times. I can understand that. I just like a lot of the actors in this movie, and there's certain parts that it's enjoyable to watch. And this movie has rewatchability to me. I don't know, like we just talked about. Couldn't tell you next time I'm going to watch it. Probably be a long time. But when I do, I'm going to love it.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 2.5. I'll give it right down the middle. I think it's a tale of two movies for me. Like the movie itself and what it's trying to do, and a lot of the supporting cast and even a couple of the main characters are really funny to me and really enjoyable. I think it's well written. I think it tells a true, actually kind of awful story and tale within the boundaries of a comedy. I hate Ben Stiller, and he ruins this movie for me though, because I just don't like him. I don't like him in this movie. I don't like him in any movies really that I can think of. He just takes things too far. He's not funny to me at all. And I think if you're going to lead a comedy and be the comedy guy, you better be funny to me. But I know some people find him hilarious, and kudos to them. I wish I could, but I just don't. So he takes this way down a notch. I won't actively look to watch this movie. Like I said, I hadn't seen it since seen it in theaters. I've seen clips, right? Because there's some funny stuff. Like, I'm just a dude dressed as a dude playing another. Like, there's some great quotable lines in this movie, but none of them come from Ben Stiller, who just brings this movie down to me. I think Jay Baruchel is like the hidden gem in this movie, because he's just like really funny, trying to be the grounded person in the whole group. But I don't know. There are parts that I really enjoy, and then there are parts that are just to me, and that's unfortunate. But all right, Alec, your turn.
I think we found our cold opening. I'm gonna go right in between you guys. I'm gonna give it a 3. There's not a lot of good that I can say about this movie, but there's also not a lot of bad. Like it, I appreciate what Mattson was saying. Like, it knows what it is, and it does not try and do anything else. And that's something you don't always see, where you'll get kind of that vibe from or the cast, whatever. That's what it feels like, is it's making fun of itself, and then it tries to throw, a curveball in there with some big moral life lesson or something other. This movie just does not give two fucks. It knows what it is. It shows up. It does not, try and bait and switch or change up what it is. It is just making fun of Hollywood and a lot of drug jokes. Like, that's what it is. And so, yeah, I'll give it a 3. I don't think I'll watch it again. I can't tell you when though, because it's just one of those like I said earlier at the beginning. I would have rather played a ghost game than watch Tropic Thunder right off the bat. But yeah, I'd give it a 3.
All right, there it is. Interesting scores, but it was fun. Good chat. Completely off and on topic at the same time. Really weird. I love movies like that.
It's one thing that's why the people listen to us.
Yeah, you can't argue with the fact that it's a conversation starter for sure.
That is true.
So with that, Alec, tell everybody where they can find us.
Happy to, JJ. So thank you for tuning in to week 2 of all-time favorite comedies month. Mattson came through with a banger on this one, Tropic Thunder. Special shout out to our patrons who had a hand in picking the topic and the movies for said topic: Richard, Mel Brooks, and JJ's Luscious Lickable Lump. Yes, if you too would like to be a part of the patron crew, join us on Patreon at What's Our Verdict Reviews, where you also could be a member of JJ's Luscious Lookable Lumps and Company. That's the place to do it. To get involved in any kind of content voting, that's the best place to find us. Other than that, find us on YouTube, where we can see our smiling faces and Mattson's face palms. With that, I will kick it back to the Titan of Terror, the Colossus of Clout, a JJ.
Yeah. Look, if for no other reason to join the Discord, I got too many things I'm part of, the Patreon. You get to force Alec to say ridiculous names every week. So,
yes.
And we appreciate
this
our
is the first one that's been.
Yeah, this one's a lot. I mean, yeah, it's good. So, as always, look, we appreciate you tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.
Boy,
Hasta la vista, baby.
Cinematic out.
Whoa!